new creatures, dynamic objective systems, a revamped adventure mode, and more. I'm TheLividLion jumping in over on the Game Guru's channel to bring you the latest Hytale update. The Hytale team is making good on promises, so with that, sit back and join me as we break down the latest blog post. It's December 13th, everyone, and anyone here who has been passionately following Hytale's production, like Kodiak and myself, know that today is a very special day. It marks the 1-year anniversary of the unveiling of the Hytale announcement trailer. While we have gotten a bit of silence and a little disappointment over the last few months, the amount of information revealed this past year has been nothing short of amazing. And it looks like the Hytale team has officially begun to course correct itself by giving the community more progress updates. Now, they were fearful and found it very nerve-wracking to reveal parts of the game before they were finished. But because of the overwhelming response and excitement to their first gameplay clip, their whole team has received a massive boost of confidence that this approach is the right way forward. I and everyone over at the Game Gurus are extremely happy to hear this. Now, in terms of new information, let's start with new details on the objective system revealed in the gameplay trailer. We all noticed that the kill counter going up as the skeletons were put back into the ground by our heroes. Many were confused if this was a shared quest, since the numbers didn't appear to increase when skeletons were killed by members of the adventuring group. The Hytale team wants to let us know that this was a very basic example of Hytale's objective system, something that will play a super important role in everyone's journey through the game's adventure mode. This system allows for specific goals to be set when the player meets certain conditions in the world. At the most basic level, an objective may be granted to the player just by entering a specific location, such as what we saw in the Ruins gameplay clip. This was also a chance to showcase what we now know to be an encounter prefab, essentially a hand-designed scenario with structured challenges that help to complement the otherwise free-form exploration we will be engaging in around the world. A different example would be in the form of location-based objectives. These can be tied to random points of interest generated in the world that will have randomized elements, such as this Torque camp. Things can vary from the loot all the way to the roster of enemies present at that location. But the objective system will always be clear in providing you with the sense of what you need to accomplish. They even go on to say that objectives can be tied directly to items such as treasure maps and even something we probably didn't expect to hear, bounty notes, that send you off in pursuit of specific enemies in the world. These objectives can be one-off missions that you can quickly complete, or even take a much more tedious form, requiring you to succeed at multiple stages of a challenge before even seeing your reward. They even say that in addition to that sweet loot, missions like this can reward you with faction reputation, providing further incentive to pursuing these types of objectives. Will this unlock special interactions with factions? Hidden quests for powerful artifacts? Special vendors for NPCs? The questions here are seemingly endless, but ones I am extremely excited to eventually find the answer to. One of the best things about this system overall, as with all features of Hytale so far, is the ability for server operators to fully customize this system, providing their own challenges to players and expanding the usefulness of prefabs in world building. Now, while on the topic of world building, we have potentially the largest piece of news to date in this blog post, one that fundamentally helps us to understand how the world will function. In the past, we were under the impression that in adventure mode, players would be set on a linear journey through zones in a sequential order. This made us all question if returning to areas like Zone 1 or 2, once we were already set well on our way through Zones 3 or 4, would have any incentive, since we would be seeing our power increase parallel to our linear progress through the world. This has been completely changed now. Currently, the first 3 zones will contain content at multiple tiers of difficulty that will contain appropriately scaling resources and rewards. That now means it is entirely possible for players to start in either Zones 1, 2, or 3. Whether this will be random or up to the players to choose has yet to be finalized, but the implications here are huge. This puts much more choice in the hands of players, allowing for more diverse experiences and opening players up to the freedom to tackle higher difficulties at lower tiers. a challenge commonly seen among the gaming community, and certainly one I will be attempting. You can see from this overhead shot of Zone 2 which areas are more likely to offer a difficult challenge compared to a lower tiered one. The tier of areas directly affects the type of prefabs that spawn there, so a basic ruin like this one with only a small handful of enemies will be relatively easy to overcome at the start compared to a higher tier version like this one. We've seen before that NPCs will have classes amongst their races, such as the Trork archetypes we saw last year. You'll all be pleased to hear that this class system is being expanded with a tier system as well. More powerful enemies will be restricted to higher tier encounters, and basic classes found typically in lower tiered areas will essentially be leveled up when found in higher tier groups, further increasing the difficulty players will be faced with. Even something like this undead mage won't be found at lower tiers, but you will see stronger and stronger variants of them as difficulty tiers increase. I'm personally glad to hear that there won't be a flat difficulty level across the board, since this sort of system will make all experiences within Hytale much more dynamic. Now, our very last thing to touch on are a few new creatures introduced into the world of Orbis. In a distant region of Orbis, likely one we have yet to see, new aquatic enemies with bioluminescent markings will look to make a meal out of players. Personally, I can't wait to see Kodiak absolutely freak out the first time we see these things in the wild, and hopefully I can just push him into the water at that point. Also, hilariously, as it seems to be the trend with the ending of most blog posts, we get a look at a wacky looking undead chicken, still carrying around the fork intended to serve him with. Who knows if this thing will be a pushover or a deceiving scourge like the killer rabbit of Kerbanog. 10 points to anyone who gets that reference. Thank you everyone for checking out the video and allowing me to bring you the latest Hytale update. Make sure as always to subscribe to the Game Gurus for the latest Hytale news and so much more. My name is Livid, thanks for watching, and play on.